Last time on
Adventures in Old Code. We gotta do Stock Simulator 3.1 today. Zero? Up to there, it's like, that's what that is. Oh yeah, file not found. Let's do this. And we, oh gosh.
And now the conclusion.
Hey, welcome to another adventure in Old Code. We're gonna finish, well, continue with Stock Simulator 3.1 today. Let's have a look here. So last time we finished going over the program, and we came across this first thing that's different in stock pick. So this was very different. Recall, this is what we're talking about. This beautiful picker here. So it's yellow when it's highlighted, space selects. When the highlighted one is highlighting a selected one, it's green. Otherwise, it's blue. Because I thought that blue and yellow made green. Unfortunately, with the light color spectrum, green is the primary color. And so that didn't quite work out, but that's okay. Okay, so let's look at how we do that. Oh no, we were already there. Okay, stock pick. So we have a perm. An array, a perm array as integer, and stocks. Now, stocks is spelled incorrect. Oh my word! That's really curious. Okay, so perm is an array of 6. Stocks, spelled only with a K, is an array of 6 integers. L, R, up and down, like in other programs and games that I made, I always used the dual character string to use the arrow keys. I don't think R and L are actually used for anything, so I must have just copied and pasted this from another program. Value equals 1 because, well, why not? Previous is empty, I guess, because we haven't done anything yet. And here we are going to initialize everything. So all of the stock now the stock variables, how are they used? We've used them, we've declared them up here. Where else are we using them, though? Stock, whoops. And it is all uppercase, so we're going to match uppercase and lowercase. All modules, let's find stock. Position of stock. No, let's keep going. That's the wrong stock. Stock is oh no, we've got okay, so stock X is not equal 0, then cash equals shares times stock position. Oh great, I've got an array called the same name as a variable, because that's not confusing. All right, stock. I don't know what else. Nope, okay. Well, hopefully we come to understand what the capital stock array is. Anyway, they all get set to 0. Stock word of X is empty string. Cache of that, all the caches are 0. Perm is -1, whatever. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this capital stock X again, because why not? That needs to be initialized to 0 twice, apparently. Sure. Mcash is 0, and only stocks 6 gets set to 0. All right. This is frustrating. So clearly stocks spelled with a K was misspelled on purpose because I thought that I had too many variables called stock with a CK. I think I could have written it with a C as well. I don't think I have a stocks array or variable anywhere, but I decided I wanted to do it with just a K. And I swear it was deliberate because I wouldn't make a mistake like that. And the other thing is I'm initializing it all to 0. That was my intention in this for loop anyway, but unfortunately I went and I just did 6. The 6th bucket gets set to 0 6 times. But QBasic defaults everything to 0, so this initialization isn't even technically required. I'm very certain I meant to do that. But it doesn't really matter because I'm doing this at the very beginning, setting everything to 0. And it's 0 by default anyway. So, okay, so we do this loop. I'll change this back to 6 for historical purposes. And then our temp variable, which we it was declared up here as a global variable, called temp. So when you make a temporary variable, you typically just use it in the scope of one very small part of your program, and you don't want any other parts of your program to know about a temp variable. But I decided I wanted everything to know about this magical variable called temp. So that's horrible. Okay, clearing the screen. Y equals 0. Why? Because. Locate 1, 1 to the top left corner. Now for each of these 6 stocks, what we're going to do, if perm X equals 1, then color 9. Now color 9 is that blue color. It's that bright blue. So this is a stock that's been chosen but not highlighted. So that's what the perm array is keeping track of. Which ones have we selected? Why I called it perm, I have no idea. All right. If value is equal to X, okay, up here value is 1. I'm going to assume value is the currently highlighted stock, and moving up or down is going to change this number. So first we do stock 1, which is Duff Beer. If we've selected it, then we're going to print it in color 9. If value is equal to 1, which it is at the beginning of the game, beginning of this, value is set to 1, and the first time through this loop, X is equal to 1, so the color is now going to be 14, which is yellow. And that just means that the first time this shows up, Duff Beer, the first one on the list, is highlighted yellow. Okay, otherwise, if it's currently highlighted and you selected it, then we're going to go color 10, which is bright green. So if this is true, color 9. If this is true, color 14. If they're both true, then color 10. That's how we get that working. Now, if it's not equal to X and you haven't selected it, then color is just the default white, color 7. Okay, and we're using this print using statement just to get the numbers. So the stock name, and then the column of numbers, the values where that stock is positioned, That's all nicely right aligned, those numbers. And that's what the print using statement says. Use this much space for the stock name, follow it by this many spaces, and then use 4 digits right aligned for the position. Okay, and that draws all 6 stocks. Good. Then we wait until we hit a key, and we look at the key. If it's up, end value is greater than 1, then we're going to decrease value. And if we've hit down and it's less than 6, then we're going to increase the value. If CHR string 32, that is the space bar, then perm value equals minus perm value, and that's why I set it to -1. So if you'll recall, I've set perm of all of them, all 6 perms, to be -1. And -1 is nice to use as a flag because regardless what it is, you can just negate it. Negative of -1 becomes 1, and then you negate it and it becomes -1. You negate it, it becomes 1, and it toggles back and forth. So that's why I defaulted it to -1, so I can just negate it. If I used 0, then I would have to do an if statement. If perm value equals 0, then perm value equals 1. If perm value equals 1, then perm value equals 0. But because I'm using it -1 and 1 rather than 0 and 1, I can just, whatever it is, negate it. Okay. So a bit intelligent. Little bit. Okay, B equals 0 for some reason. Okay. Then we're going to go through all 6 stocks. If we've selected that stock, then stock B equals X. Okay, so the capital stock array is keeping track of all the stocks that we have currently selected. If we select 3, only 3 buckets of the stock array will be filled. So if we selected stocks 4, 5, and 6, the capital stock array is going to be 4, 5, 6, 0, 0, 0. And so I'm looping through here and I'm saying if I've selected the first one, Duff Beer, then perm X is 1 because it's selected. So B becomes 1 because we've just increased it, and stock 1 becomes 1. Ay. That's kind of a funky way of doing it. The alternative would... I don't know. I guess it's okay. It's just, it's a bit convoluted because I've got B's increasing with the X's. But I can see why I did that. Okay. Regardless. Sure. And then we loop until we hit enter. CHR string 13. Okay, now that we've selected everything, stock word is... So the stock word array is just going to hold the name of the stocks that we've selected. So if stock X was 1, stock word of 1 is Duff Beer. Now if stock X was 6, then it would be dance techno music. Okay. And the stock pause equals the position Okay, so, oh man. X is 1. If the first stock that you selected was stock 1, Duff Beer, stock word of 1 is Duff Beer, stock pause of 1 wants to be the position of 1. this could have been X because X is 1. So what I've done here is I'm doing 2 assignments in the case for each one of them. And I didn't have to necessarily do all these stock positions, because whatever this number is here, so I could have not done any of these. So for instance, I could have done that, this, taken these all out. Not that it makes a whole lot of difference, but, and then I could have said stock pos of X equals posit X. Just because that is what I was doing every single time. Yeah, that would have worked. But whatever. We'll just reopen this because we don't want the right way. We don't want the nice, convenient way. We want the way I did it. Okay. Very good. Then we changed back to color 7 and we print all of these things. I think we've seen this before. The only thing is the stupid temp variable. So we keep asking how much for each stock. If it's not 0, which means we've chosen a stock, then how much money do you want to invest in the name of the stock? Then we input cash. And then we loop until cash 1 plus cash 2 plus cash 3 plus cash 4 plus cash 5 plus cash 6 is less than or equal to money. Okay, we need enough money. And then, once that's happened, then we remove all that money. Okay, we're going to remove all that money by subtracting all the cash variables from money. And then, what is all this for B equals 1 to 6? Temp equals temp plus cash B. So after everything is said and done, I'm saying take all the money you have invested in your stocks this time and throw that into temp. So if I have $95 invested in all of my stocks, temp will be 95. It doesn't matter if I had $1 million elsewhere. It's just what I've invested. This is obviously going to be used for the stupidometer. But why I decided to call it temp is beyond me. And I should have been severely chastised for such a terrible decision. Okay, so temp now contains the amount of money you've invested this time. Okay, very good. So calculate shares should not be any different. It's just going from 1 to 6 this time instead of 1 to 3. Okay, we've done all this. We've done this. See, and here we're using a stock variable to randomly choose a stock, which is awful. In fact, I'm shocked that QBasic allows you to have a variable named the same thing as an array. In other programming languages, this would not be allowed. It would complain that, whoa, stock is... either it would complain that stock is an array, you can't assign it a random integer, That doesn't make any sense. Or it would just choose the first element of the array, or it's just a pointer to the array in general. And it wouldn't let you assign an integer to it unless you're in C, and then it'll let you do anything. But this is not C. Okay, so that's unfortunate decision that I made, but not as terrible as temp. Okay, calculate positions. This is, we've seen that before. Stock pause, I don't think that's changed. We go 1 to 6. This is just changing the positions of the stocks that we have. So the posit array is actually the position of all 6 stocks. Stock pause is the position of your stocks. And again, I could have just killed this whole thing and replaced it with stock pause x equals posit x. That would have worked. But I didn't, because, yeah, so all of this highlighted stuff becomes unnecessary. Oh well. It is what it is. Come on. Isn't that the right... Oh. Can't remember my QBasic shortcuts. Okay. And then here's a change. If the stock pause is less than or equal to 0, then set our shares to 0, our M shares to 0, and the stock position becomes 100 again. If posit is less than or equal to 0, then posit is equal to 100. So this is just setting both the stock position of the global stock back to 100 if it goes below 0, and the position of the stock as it's in the context of what stock you own right now. Okay, so that's a bit different. Time. This is the same. I will not go through this. You can look at other versions of Stock Simulator to see that. We don't need to go through that. Up, down. So this becomes the stupidometer. Now pot equals 0. Okay. Sure. Okay. Look at each of your stocks. If stock X is not equal to 0, remember that means you have a stock in that bucket. And it is, okay, then the cash equal your shares times the position of the stock divided by 100. So that just tells you how much cash you have right now in that stock. Then we're going to loop through everything and make sure that your M cash, you lose all your money if the position of your stock goes below 0. But not 0. That's kind of curious. Then we're going to look at this pot. We're going to take pot, and pot is going to be all the cash that you currently have invested. Mcash. Okay, so Mcash is what you have for each stock right now, and then pot just becomes the sum of all of those. So pot is literally a pot. It's how much money you would make if you sold at that very instant. So if it's greater than temp, because that's what you invested, and previous is not you, then print this up arrow. Previous equals you. Now, why the previous? This just means that the first time that you started making more, let's say you started making more money and you never looked back, you just kept making more and more money, this would only draw the arrow once. As soon as it's supposed to change, your previous was not up, then it draws it, the up arrow, and it sets previous to be up. And similarly with the down. Okay, so previous is not equal to down. So this isn't going to constantly draw the correct arrow. It's just going to draw the arrow when it changes, up or down, which is nice. Okay, and there's actually this equal sign here if it's exactly equal, but I'm sure that doesn't happen very often or for that long. All right, very good. So another use of a single variable that did not have to be global. Oh no, it did have to be globally shared because we are relying on its value to be maintained through each of these loops. So if I didn't declare it to be a global variable at the end of this subroutine, when we went back into the main subroutine, previous string would be annihilated. So yeah, I guess I would have had to do that. There are other ways of getting around that because it is not good practice to have a bunch of global variables, but I didn't know that back then. I could have used functions and subroutines, but I didn't use functions, so unfortunately it's probably the best with what I knew. Okay, so then we're going to calculate cache. This should be the same, and we're going to ask what we want to do. Sell, change speed, save or quit, and we're going to put that into A. Awesome. And while it's C, okay, C is change speed. So if we chose to change speed, then we go back to speed, which gives us this question. That's fine. And then we go back to the calculate cache screen, where we'll ask again, what do you want to do? S, C, Q, or A? If you chose to be A, which is save, then we're going to go into the saver, which is the exact same, because remember I said the save games are equivalent. You can use 3.0 save games in 3.1, and the reason is because I didn't change anything about it. So of course they're compatible. And so do the saver, print cell, change speed, save or quit. Keep going until you hit S, C, or Q, or A. Oh, gosh. Loop all that while A equals A. And then loop everything until you hit quit. Once you hit quit, you go to the high score list. And this will be the exact same as before. The only difference will be this reset. If you chose to reset the high score, this now becomes 1,000,000 divided by X. And whereas before I think it was 100,000. So, okay. But all this should be familiar to us. That's the only difference. More Stock Simulator, quit forever. If you hit M, then you go to that funky Stock Simulator page, which we saw, which we'll look at afterwards at a later date. Otherwise, you just end. So, wow, okay. This is the first, I think, one of the first Stock Simulators we did in only 2 parts. But that is Stock Simulator, the version 3.1. Excellent. Right on. Well, hopefully there'll be more changes with the other 2 stock simulators. We have 2 left. Yep. So we'll see. Anyhow, thanks for joining me in this adventure in old code. Have a nice day, and we will see you next time.